I found myself craving this other world of family and kids and normalcy and routine, and it still sort of haunts me to this day that I don't have that. I'll never have that.
What do you mean when you say the work is like your drug?
I think when you are such a visual person for me and you have chased something for so long, when all of those things come together at once and all the little voices leave your mind and you've succeeded in this assignment, and the drug for me is just being close to these animals. When so many people have fear of a grizzly bear, but you're sitting there 5 feet from a mother and her cubs in a river, and she's accepted you into her world, and she's feeding, and you're a fly on the wall. I mean, that's my drug. The feeling that I get in being around these animals alone in their habitat, helping tell their story, helping give them their voice is my drug, and that's what just feeds my soul, and that's what I'll never get tired of.
How often do you work?
Too much. I work nonstop. I mean, I work every day, 7 days a week, and that's why I struggle when I try and mentor these young photographers. Like, oh, I'm going to go off with the family or paddling in my canoe for a couple of weeks, and I'll be back. And I'm like, you work every day, and when you're on assignment, you work 18 hours a day, or whatever it takes. You work 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day, and when you have a really bad weather day, that's your day to read a book or just to rest or to try and recover your energy. I love a big blizzard. When I'm on the sea ice and it's blowing 80 miles an hour and your tent's just like screaming, I'm like, I am forced to take some downtime, and I like that moment. But the rest of the time, you're out there working, and once you've done your job, once you've come back with all these images and your visuals to share with the world, then you've got to edit them, then you've got to get into lecture tour, and then you've got to do your social media. It's endless, but I can't imagine any other path.
So 7 days a week, on average, how many hours a day, you think?
It just depends. If you're in the field, you're working, in a way, 24 hours a day. When I work in the Arctic, depends where I'm working. If I'm working in the Arctic or in the Canadian Arctic in the summer, I get up at 6 p.m. I wake up at 6 p.m. I have breakfast till 8 p.m. I prep all my gear, and getting all ready, and by 10 p.m. I'm out the door on my snowmobile, and I shoot until 6 or 7 a.m. when the light's beautiful. I've shot through the whole night, which is now 24 hours of sunlight. So I've shot through that whole evening, and then I'm back and prepping all my gear and putting all my stuff and downloading my pictures until noon, and then I'm in bed at noon, and then I sleep till 6 p.m. And then so that's my cycle. When you're a wildlife and nature photographer specialist, you work to the rhythms of nature, and that could be, again, like working 48 hours straight when the conditions are right, or hunkering down when the wicked blizzard comes along.
What are the drawbacks of being on the road 10 months a year?
Fitness. People think you're a photographer out there, but it's being in hotels. It's not eating the way you want to eat. It's not getting enough fitness, not having a routine. When I'm home for 3 weeks, it's amazing how much better I feel just eating right every day, working out every day, in this routine, waking up in your bed, feeling so energized and refreshed. But our lives are out on the road.
How does it impact the personal life?
It was brutal. I was married to a great lady in the Yukon, for 20 years, and just seeing her for a month a year is not a normal marriage. We never had any kids, but you just really grow apart with that person if you see them a month a year, 11 months apart, or a really good year I'd be home 4 months. In the worst years, I was home a month.
Would she come and visit you?
Sometimes, but generally what I do is not a very romantic job. It's sitting in sort of uncomfortable places and grinding it out. And so very rarely did she ever come in the field to see me. And 20 years of that, and it's just hard on a marriage. So now my new partner is she does exactly what I do. We travel almost always together. We do our work together, and it's just much healthier.
Why decide against having kids?
When I'm sitting here preaching on climate change and the impact we're having on this planet, I'm always saying, what's the ultimate sacrifice? And it's not having kids. And also, when you're gone 10 months a year, 11 months a year, you're not going to be a very good dad. So my kids became the environment, became nature, being out there, trying to protect our planet has become sort of my fatherhood and my dedication to that. And people are always like, wow, you're really excited to meet my kids. So I think when I meet other people's kids, I get a little excited. I want to wrestle and play with them and play catch and go swimming and goof around with them. I just love other people's kids. And that's been that's been a good part of the journey.
How much of a struggle, if at all, was that for you in balancing whether or not you wanted to have kids with the passion for the work that you were doing?
That's always was my biggest struggle. Is I was obsessed with my work. I loved every bit about it, but I realized it wasn't life. It wasn't a normal life. And I would always look at normal lives, and I would come to visit my friends when I'd get home from these expeditions, and they'd be having a barbecue by a lake with their family, and they would all be having normal conversations, but I had just come back from a 3-month solo expedition of living with the wolves and the bears, which was my drug. But all of a sudden I went, wait a minute, and it was hard because I would look at their lives and I became not envious. The Inuit have a beautiful word. It's called tushu. It's in their culture, they don't have something of jealousy. Jealousy is not healthy, but tushu means I'm happy for you, but I wish for the same for myself. So I found myself craving this other world of family and kids and normalcy and routine. And it still sort of haunts me to this day that I don't have that. I'll never have that. I'll never have that normal life of sitting around with my kids and kids that I've, conceived and watched grow up. And I love the concept of being a dad and passing on your knowledge. And if I could have had time for that, I would have loved that.